Hello everyone, my name is Lachlann. I write for Monday Morning and I'm also an analyst on Exponential Stock Investor. Now today I've got a few headlines for you and a few charts. The theme of today's update is largely about interest rates and dividend stocks. Now there's a good article here from the Australian Financial Review and it's about how it's hard to get yield out there at the moment. Now you can see one commentator says you can't earn any money in the bank. What you're getting out of a bond is poor. Even a rental yield, if you own a property, is poor because of these low interest rates. And then there are a couple interesting quotes down here. We all know tech stocks have gone nuts recently, and they single out Afterpay and Xero. But the idea is that there's more cheap money coming, even though rates are still really low. And one of the commentators said lower interest rates are good for robbing savers to favor debtors. So that's a pretty negative assessment of what low or negative interest rates mean for investors. And I'll just draw your attention to a headline from the BBC, which is the Bank of England questioned banks over negative rates. So they're basically sounding out banks about their ability to cope with negative rates. We all know it sort of shrinks margins for big banks, and they're trying to figure that one out. And it's possible this will come to Australia at some point. The RBA has flagged that they will continue to ease things. And in the context of all of that, I'd just like to discuss some, I guess, big dividend stocks out there. So you're all familiar with CBA, most likely. I've got a sort of wedge pattern here, which I drew way back in the day, and then it broke out from there. But it's a tough looking chart right there, and it may have found some support around the sort of $62 level and is bouncing back up. But there's also NAB, which is got a bit more dire chart there. We know CBA is outperforming NAB as far as bank stocks go. So the bank stocks have cut their dividends, and a lot of people out there are looking for dividend stocks. So one of the companies favored by a commentator in this article was Telstra. So the guy who favors Telstra is a value-oriented investor. Now we know there is plenty of competition in the telecommunications space at the moment, and Telstra is the biggest of the bunch. And if you look at the chart here, it's possible Telstra may have found some support, but that support is dating back a really long time to about the turn of 2019. So you could draw a support line somewhere along here. And then if you go back even further on the chart, you could draw some potential support a bit further back there. And Telstra's dividend yield is currently sitting around 3%, I believe. So that's a pretty paltry dividend yield by normal circumstances. But I will just say that there are other options out there for dividend investors, and it's a bit of a rarity, but you can actually find dividend stocks in the small cap space. So I'll just draw your attention to one company I've watched over the last couple of years, which is Ptb Group Limited. Now, it's had a bit of a stronger bounce than CBA from the March market lows. As you can see there, it's got a market cap of about 90 million. Now, this is actually a profitable company. It's got a price to earnings ratio of 17, and it also has a dividend yield, according to TradingView, of 7%. Now, that's quite high for both a small cap and a company that is not one of these giants like Telstra, NAB, or CBA. And what do? Well, they do aircraft engine parts and sort of servicing to the aviation industry, particularly in the US, which is kind of interesting. It's probably not a company that is going to set the world alight, but they seem to be well run from the outside, and the fact that they're still profitable is probably a tick mark for them. This is by no means a recommendation, And I do have to highlight that small caps are volatile, but if you look at the long-term chart for PTB, it's actually quite a remarkable rise over the years. So that's the 5-year time period, and then all time, it doesn't look so great because it came down from this really high level here, but it's been on a steady rise last few years prior to the March market lows. So there are options out there in the small cap space, and they are rare, but you can find them. And I would just say that the hunt for yield is definitely on, as this article highlights, with such low interest rates. So I'd encourage you to really look at your options if you are a dividend investor and sort of study their financials. And I'm quite bearish on the big banks' prospects of high dividend payouts, and you might have to turn your attention elsewhere. So I hope you enjoy this update, and I will speak to you soon. And be sure to check out Exponential Stock Investor in the link below in the video description. And on a final note, you can also read the article there. So I hope you again enjoy this video, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.